Did you know that a bank in New York might have to block a payment between two foreign companies, neither of which is American, just because their cargo sailed through a restricted port? Or consider this: altering just a few letters in a buyer's name to hide their identity has triggered billion-dollar fines for the companies involved. Every shipment crossing a border enters a high-stakes security checkpoint governed by international law. To safely pass through this checkpoint, we need to understand what these sanctions actually are, exactly who we are required to screen, how automated tools catch hidden risks, and how bad actors try to evade them. Mastering these procedures allows a business to participate in the global market while avoiding the threat of reputational ruin or total business paralysis. At their core, sanctions are deliberate restrictions placed by countries to influence a target's behavior, protect human rights, or prevent the spread of weapons. These restrictions generally fall into three categories. The first is comprehensive sanctions. You can think of these as a giant concrete wall built entirely around a country, like this view of North Korea, prohibiting nearly all trade and financial transactions with that nation. The second category is targeted sanctions. Instead of blocking a whole country, this acts like a do-not-enter list given to a nightclub bouncer. It keeps specific, named individuals or organizations out of the global market, regardless of where they happen to live. The third is sectoral sanctions. These operate like a speed limit applied only to certain types of vehicles on a highway. As we see with this industrial refinery, they restrict trade only within specific industries of a country's economy, such as the energy or defense sectors. Knowing exactly which type of restriction applies to your buyer determines whether your shipment is a routine business deal or a federal crime. Checking the name of the customer buying your goods is a good start, but it is rarely enough. You also have to screen vendors, counterparties, and even the physical shipping vessels transporting the cargo. Identifying the ultimate beneficial owner, or UBO, requires looking past corporate registration papers. Like this nesting doll, finding the true owner often means peeling back layers of shell companies to find the individual at the center. This matters because of the 50% rule. If a restricted person owns half or more of a company, that entire outer company is automatically sanctioned too, even if its specific name does not appear on any official government list. Taking a customer at face value is no longer a valid legal defense. Businesses carry the legal burden of proving they know exactly who is inside that shell. Manually investigating all these complex corporate structures for every single transaction would bring any business to a halt. To handle the massive amounts of data, companies rely on automated screening tools. Because bad actors often misspell their names or use aliases to hide, these tools use an algorithm called fuzzy logic. As you can see with these two names, the software calculates partial matches, recognizing that Timmy with 3 M's might still be the exact same person as Timmy. The challenge is setting the strictness or threshold of these tools. It works much like an airport metal detector. Set the sensitivity too high, and it beeps for every belt buckle, creating safe false positives that waste everyone's time. Set it too low, and dangerous weapons slip through as false negatives. A screening tool is only as effective as its calibration. Getting that threshold wrong can render an expensive compliance program entirely useless. When setting up these tools, there are two main approaches. Name screening is like running a background check on a new employee before hiring them. You check their static records once. Payment screening happens right before a financial transfer, acting like a security guard inspecting that employee's briefcase every single time they walk in and out of the building. Beyond checking names and payments, you also have to monitor the physical cargo itself. This requires heightened scrutiny for what are known as dual-use goods. This split screen shows a perfect example of a dual-use item, a simple kitchen knife. It is perfectly safe when a chef buys it to chop vegetables, but it becomes a weapon in the hands of a criminal. Dual-use goods are materials or technologies that have normal civilian purposes but can easily be repurposed for military use. Staying compliant means vetting the end user and their specific intentions for the product. Bad actors know these checks exist, and they treat compliance like a cat-and-mouse game. They constantly invent new ways to hide their identities and their cargo within this massive sea of global trade data. A common trick is stripping, where someone deliberately deletes a sanctioned name or location from a wire transfer document so the bank will not flag it. Another is transshipment, which means routing cargo through a friendly, neutral country just to mask its true final destination. They also use physical evasion tactics. For example, ships will try to disappear entirely by disabling their tracking devices, known as the automatic identification system, so law enforcement cannot follow their route. These evasion tactics are constantly evolving. Because the threats change daily, a compliance program that never updates its rules is a program destined to fail. This is exactly why relying on a 100% exact match system for your screening is so dangerous. If your software requires a perfect spelling to raise a red flag, an intentional typo by a criminal will slip right past your defenses. Effective defense relies on identifying sanction types, unmasking the ultimate owner, calibrating screening tools, and vetting dual-use goods. International trade regulations will continue to shift, and criminals will keep finding new ways to hide. The question is, how will you ensure your business operations remain vigilant and properly calibrated to catch tomorrow's hidden risks?